Hi everyone, let me ask you a question. Have you ever tried to explain what you do to your family and friends and gotten a blank look? Or is fear holding you and your online business back right now? Now, if you answered yes to either of those, you're going to love this month's free newsletter. How do you get a copy? Head on over to writecom.com now. And by the way, if you want to make more money with your online business, you are going to love our coffee bean money making idea inside. So head over to writecom, that's writecome.com, and you'll find the newsletter waiting for you over there. Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode from writecom.com. And today's podcast episode is entitled 50 Things at 50, Part 3. Now, this past few days, I have been going through a list of 50 things I have learned on the way to my 50th birthday. Now, some of these things are life lessons, some of these things are things I wish the younger version of me knew, and some of these things are things that I've discovered in creating my online business and doing podcasting and doing writing and all the things I've done in the past. So what I'm doing in this podcast series is I'm going to share with you some of the things that I have learned. Hopefully, maybe some of these things may be useful, but I'll just continue on where we dropped off yesterday. So, Part 3, 21. No one cares how long it took. You know, no one cares how long your blog post took to write. No one cares how many versions of your book you wrote until you released it. No one cares how long it took you to create your training course. So, taking a week to do something that you can do in a day to create doesn't make it any more valuable in your users' eyes. You know, you probably don't care how many times I record this podcast episode over and over again because I made a stupid mistake. You don't really care about that. You are just listening to this version of this podcast, and that is all you're interested in. And unfortunately, a lot of us believe sometimes that we need to do something over and over again, or we feel that it is more valuable if it took us 6 months to write, or if it took us a year to write. Sometimes we look at maybe a book that we wrote in a week, and we think it's not as valuable as something that we have worked on for 10 years. But at the end of the day, the end user that is going through that content doesn't care how hard it was for you to create it, how long it took you to do it, how many revisions it took. They're only interested in what they have in their hands right now, or whatever they're listening to. So don't get lost up in thinking that if you're doing something over and over again, or it's taking you a long time to do it, it makes it more valuable in the end user's eyes. It doesn't. That's just all in your head. They are just only interested in the content right now. Now, 22, I would say to you that anything great is going to involve discomfort. You know, if you're not prepared to embarrass yourself, sacrifice your time, or break out in the sweat, give up on the idea of doing something great with your life, because everything great is going to involve one of those things. It's going to involve you stepping into a situation where something you've never ever done before, that you are leaving yourself open to embarrassment. It's going to be uncomfortable. You know, you might need to break up a sweat. You might need to sacrifice more time, but anything great is going to involve some kind of discomfort or embarrassment. And if you're not willing to do that, well, then I'd forget on that idea of doing something great with your life. Now, 23, your journey is your journey. You know, we've all been dropped into random bodies, families, countries, talents, or 100 different variations. And your journey is going to be completely different from anyone else on the planet. No one else in the world was born into your body, into your family, into your country, with your talents and abilities. There's anywhere else in the world. Nobody is in the exact same situation that you are in. So stop comparing your journey or where you are with someone else, because it can't be compared. It's like oranges and apples. Where you are was just a random spot in the world, and you're wasting your time comparing yourself with anyone else. Your journey is going to be your journey. So instead of comparing yourself with everyone else, comparing the numbers, focus on your journey. Number 24, everyone doubts themselves. You know, even though they mightn't look like it or sound like it, everyone doubts themselves. And sometimes some people feel that they are going to be found out at some stage, that they don't deserve to be in the situation that they are in, and somebody is going to stand up one day and point out that that person isn't talented or they don't deserve to be there. And a lot of us have those beliefs and doubts in us. Even as I'm recording this podcast episode, I have the little doubt monster on the back of my mind saying nobody is going to listen to this podcast episode. Nobody is going to be interested in the 50 things that you are telling this audience right now because no one cares. So you're always going to have doubts about yourself, and sometimes you need to just ignore that doubt monster, put the content out there, and just remember that even the most polished people doubt themselves. And maybe they mightn't doubt themselves at the thing that they are great at, but if you were to follow them around in the rest of their life, you would probably find that there are other parts of their life that they're not successful in, or that they are doubtful at, or that they are just terrible at. And maybe the one thing that you put them up on a pedestal is the only thing that really great at, and the only thing that they don't doubt themselves doing. But they may doubt everything else. So when you look at those people that you admire, remember that they doubt themselves as much as you, or maybe even more than you. Now, number 25, I would say to create more content than you consume. The people that create content are the ones that take home the money. When you think of the movie studios that make the millions of dollars for the movies, they make all that money. The people who watch the movies don't make any money. They actually pay to get their hands on that content. If you look at the big platforms like Amazon Prime and Netflix, they are constantly creating new content. They're constantly creating new TV shows because they know that the more content they have, the more audience they can pull in and the more money they can make. And again, too, if you look at people who have huge YouTube channels, people have huge YouTube followings, they create the content. The people on the other side that watch that content aren't making the money. And it's because they're not creating content. That is why they're not making the money. So if I was to say something to you, it might be maybe just to cut back on how much content you are consuming and start creating more content, because that is where the money is. Now, 26, build an audience. Now, I heard Dan Kennedy say that one time, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized he was so right. Because everything you want is going to come from other people. So when you think about it, if the money is going to come from other people, it would make sense that the larger audience you have would mean that you can make more money. So always be growing your audience. Try and put content out there that is going to pull more people to you. TikTok videos, YouTube videos, podcast episodes, blogging, guest blogging, whatever. Try and build a huge audience as you can, because the bigger the audience you have and the more that you can control that audience. If you, for example, unfortunately, some people maybe are building a huge audience on a platform like Facebook. But what if Facebook closes down your account and you lose that audience? So always be thinking, how can I build an audience? But how can I build an audience that I can control? How can I get them maybe onto maybe a platform of mine? How can I get them onto an email list of mine? How can I get them only come to my blog rather than go over to Facebook? But always be building your audience, because the larger your audience is, the more money you'll make and the safer your business will be. Now, number 27, some days you won't want to do it. Some days you'll be up and some days you'll be down. And on the up days, it's easy to write, it's easy to record, it's easy to do anything when you are on a good day. On a bad day, those are the days that are going to test you. Those are the days that are going to make you doubt yourself. Those are the days you just won't want to do the work. Now, while it's all good and well, maybe just taking the odd day off, maybe you are burnt out. Maybe you've done too much. Maybe it's your body telling you, something, take it easy. You've been going at it really hard. Maybe you might need to take 1 or 2 days off. But if you find that, it's going on a long period of time and you just are listening to that voice, maybe you're not doing the right thing. Maybe you need to force yourself to do it, because some days you won't want to do it. It's like exercise. You know that if you are going to get fit, you're going to get healthy. There's some days you won't want to put on your trainers, but you know that if you go and do that exercise, you will probably find the first 5 or 10 minutes are going to be the hardest, but then you're going to get into a stride, and then you can come back after that workout and you're going to be pleased with yourself that you did that workout. You didn't want to do it beforehand, but now that you've done it, you're pleased with yourself. You feel better about yourself. And you're going to find that too on the days when you won't want to do the work. If you just, force yourself to get over that little hump at the start, get working for the first 5 or 10 minutes, you will find then that the ball will start rolling and you will feel a lot better about yourself. But you'll feel a lot better about yourself for showing up and for doing the work on a day when you didn't want to do it. And those days are the days when you probably need to do it the most. So some days you won't want to do it. but those are the most important days when you actually need to do the work. Now, number 28, you can't receive if you don't give first. Now, the great Earl Nightingale said one time that if you are going to, be warmed by a fire, you need to build that fire first. There's no point in standing in front of an empty cold stove, putting your hands out and expecting some heat to come from it. It won't happen until you put the sticks into it, until you put the paper into it, until you light it and get that fire going, that you can stand back and warm your hands. And so it's going to be with you receiving money. A lot of people say, I want the money, I want the money, I want the money. But yet they're doing nothing to receive that money. They're standing in front of that cold stove and they're expecting heat, but it'll never come because they haven't done anything to get the heat. So instead of, focusing on the money, start focusing on giving first. Give as much as you can. Give as much great content. Give as much great service. Give as much as you can, and you will find that eventually, by giving so much, you will build something that you can actually attract heat off. So you can't receive if you don't give first. Now, number 29, everybody is going through something. Everybody is going through something. If you look at the attacks and the criticism that you may be receiving, you'll find it's usually come from people who are going through something or they're hurt themselves. Sometimes it may seem that we're the target. It may seem that that person has singled you out in traffic because they are just pissed with you. But chances are good it has nothing to do with you. You were probably the closest, or you were the safest one that they could attack right now. Because most times, if you weren't there, it would be somebody else that they would be criticizing, that they would be attacking. So sometimes you need to be sympathetic to those people, and you have to remember that hurt people hurt people. Someone who's criticizing your work, somebody who's gone through, read your book or watched your videos and then criticized you after that, that says more about that person than it says about you. It means that there's something wrong with them. There's something broken in them, that they need to attack you, to demean you, to make you smaller and kind of, put your work down. So everyone is going through something, and that criticism and that anger and that negativity that you could be going through, it says more about that other person. You may be the closest person that they can attack. So usually it's never anything about you or your content, it's the person themselves. And number 30, your best ideas are going to come when you are moving your body. It's easy to just sit down in front of the laptop, stare at that blank screen and expect blog post ideas to come to you, or product ideas, or a podcast idea. But you will find that your best ideas are going to come for you when you go for a walk, when you go for a run, or a drive. Because your best ideas are always going to come when you're relaxed, lost in nature, or you're in new surroundings. Now, if you go for a walk or a drive, or if you are going for a run, do make sure you have something to record that idea, because unfortunately, ideas and inspiration never hangs around for long. So always make sure you've got a pen and paper, or you have your mobile phone with an audio recorder app, or just speak into it, or even call yourself with some short message. But always remember you have something to record those moments of inspiration when they do happen, because they won't be around for long. So if you are maybe struggling with an idea today, you're just frustrated, just put the laptop down. Carry your phone with you, go for a walk in nature, go for a drive or whatever, get into new surroundings, get near water or something like that, and you will find that when you're not expecting an idea to come up, an idea will bubble to the surface. So I'll see you in the next episode of this 50 Things I Have Learned on the way to my 50th birthday. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more from the writecome.com podcast, be sure to subscribe now for more tips, tricks, and ideas you can use to make more money from your words. See you in the next episode.